Again, welcome. I'd like to take this opportunity to start and say hello and welcome to tonight's webinar. My name is Esther Akanj, and I'm an academic trainer for the Center for Teaching and Learning. We are thrilled to support the VESC webinar this evening. Very brief housekeeping items to cover. Remember, this webinar is being recorded, and we will post it on the CTL LibGuides webinar page under the VESC playlist. We encourage you to ask questions and have conversation in the chat or out loud. Before I introduce our wonderful student presenter tonight, I would like to quickly introduce Dr. Amy E Lynn, our Director of VESC.
Hi, I am so excited to be here and to be here to view Jen Sharp as she does her presentation today, but also to see so many people enjoying the webinar. VESC will continue to have the EdBreak series through October. And I will also just say I am going to be very scarce this evening. I am in not at my home location. So if you see my computer bumping around, you will know why. And I'm going to hide behind my video. But you're in good hands. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Dr. Lynn. So I'll take this time to introduce our wonderful presenter tonight. We have Jen Sharp. She is one of the country's leading female skydivers, having jumped for over 32 years with almost 6,000 skydivers. She is frequently invited to share the lessons and experience of skydiving and years in business, drawing analogies to the field and history of skydiving in venues small and large, from summer children's programs to conference keynotes. In addition, she often writes articles for skydiving and non-skydiving publications, many of which focus on education, safety, and training. For over 2 decades, she's owned and operated her own drop zone and skydiving school, which was known nationally for its educational innovations. She now works for the United States Parachute Association, the official national organization for skydiving, US. Her reputation and credentials are as a skydiving instructor and examiner afford her opportunity to travel and teach skydiving instructor courses. She is currently pursuing her PhD in education, specializing in curriculum and instruction at North Central University. Without further ado, I would like to hand it over to Jen Sharp.
Hello, I am so happy to be here, and thank you so much for allowing me to speak. And I am hoping to have a whole lot of fun here. So I really like interactive. This is why this is a meeting. I really like interactive presentations. So I'm going to be asking you if you wanted to unmute at certain points, and also for your reactions, such as raising your hand and things like that, or even just a smiley face, whatever you think. So if you want to play around with that right now, on the bottom of your screen, you can see your reactions right there. And do we have the ability, Esther, for them to unmute themselves? Do we have that on? Okay. You don't have to do that right now, but hopefully you can see the little mic in the bottom left corner, so that if you feel like you want to unmute when we get to those moments, feel free. Okay, so go ahead.
Can you share your screen?
I'm doing that right now.
Okay.
So my presentation is about making your point. And we all have opportunities where we need to say something to somebody. And we have this idea rattling around in our heads, and we really want to get it out and have the other person really understand us. We do that when we teach, but we also just do it anytime we're trying to talk to somebody. I do it even when I was trying to talk to my kids who are young and they don't understand. And how can we really make our point? And especially if you're making a presentation, you want to back that up with some visuals. So that's what this topic is tonight about. So first of all, we're going to go through the who, what, why, and how to make your point. So first, let's dig into the who. I want to know a little bit about you. And then I will tell you a little bit about me in relation to this tool that we're going to use tonight. So about you. Raise your hand now if you have ever experienced death by PowerPoint. What I mean by that is, have you ever had text on the screen that was so small, so much text, so hard to read, and it was like in a really trendy font, but it's really difficult to read? Have you ever felt overloaded just from what you were viewing on the screen during a presentation? Raise your hand if you've had that. Yes. Well, raise your hand if you've ever seen background clutter and it was really hard to read. It's like really hard to read. Like you're focused on that instead of the presentation. Or maybe there's like really distracting colors that you can't even read. But obviously the presenter thinks it's really cool. Those colors are so awesome, but it's really difficult to kind of get the point. Your point is lost. Yes. Okay, raise your hand if you've seen slide after slide after slide and thought, where are we? There's just a whole lot of words on the screen. I don't even know how to make sense of it. Where are we in this presentation? Kind of like when you're a little kid and you're riding in the car and you're like, are we there yet? I don't know where we're going with this. Okay, I think everybody pretty much has raised their hand, at least for one of those things. And actually right now, so if you haven't raised your hand before, go ahead and raise your hand. Raise your hand if you've never raised your hand. Okay. So we definitely have all experienced this kind of thing, and we don't want to be that kind of presenter. So really a little bit about me and how I came to find this tool that was really helpful to avoid all those things that are very difficult. I had a lot of teaching experience, and then when everything is going online, there's a lot of opportunities to do more presenting. And I also had a lot of chances to be a public speaker and give online presentations. So a lot of these I kind of combined. So even in my in-person courses, I use Prezi as a presentation tool instead of like a whiteboard or instead of PowerPoint. So I just have it up on the screen and we're walking through things as we go. So how I learned about Prezi, I first found it when my daughter was in middle school. So this was about 12 years ago. And I learned later that Prezi was only a tool that had only been out about a year. And it was a game changer for me because it was the first tool that almost intuitively I could use to really make my point. So what is Prezi? Let's look at, we kind of know about ourselves here. Let's look at what now. What is Prezi and what are we going to do here today? So what is Prezi? Prezi has, it's more like it's like a canvas. It's an alternative to PowerPoint basically. And it has multiple ways to get your point across. The original is called Prezi Present. And then they broke out into other avenues because it's like a canvas. It's not like PowerPoint, which slide after slide after slide. It's more like a canvas that you can really interact with. And there's a freemium version. It's a freemium kind of scale, which basically means there is a layer of Prezi that is completely free to use. And so all you have to do is sign up and log in, and you can have access to a lot of features. And then if you want to expand and get more features after you use it for a while and you think, oh, I see how the value, oh, I really wish I could do this. That's how they get your business. So you can upgrade and get the other features. We're going to talk about the freemium version mostly just because I think that that is really just available, more available. And plus, who wants to pay for stuff if you can get a little bit and see what you think first, right? It's also cloud-based, which means you do need an internet connection for the free version. If you wanted to have the paid version, you could download it and have a desktop version. But the cloud-based version is free. That's wonderful too, because hey, you spilled a whole bunch of coffee on your laptop. Well, you still have your presentation. And it also has an app, so you can even do it on your phone. Before, I had like a really, really tight impromptu thing that came up, and I had my phone. I was like, hey, we need to get this done. Does anybody have anything that can present? I had my Prezi and I had a little miniature projector, and I was set. It was amazing. I looked like a hero. It was great. But the best thing about Prezi is just really how it's organized. It's almost like a mind map. because you can zoom in and zoom out because it's a canvas. It's not just slides. It's not a static list. So that's really what makes it very usable and very easy to use and set up, and for people to follow you as well. So it kind of drills into details and pulls back for the main ideas, and it really helps remind people about where you are. They do have some free assets too, like you can pull in images. They have templates, so you don't have to be a beautiful artist to be able to make beautiful presentations. So similar to where PowerPoint has those templates as well.
Jen, I have a question.
Yeah.
So, and this may be more for Esther, but since NCU offers us the PowerPoint in our repertoire of stuff, does NCU offer Prezi, or how do we get Prezi?
I think I'm breaking this open. I don't think that, I don't think that anybody, I don't know, because I'm just a student.
Right.
I don't think anybody has really thought about that question. So I think that's a really good question. And maybe Dr. Lynn could follow up with us on that later.
Okay, that'd be great, because I've known about Prezi for just like you for years, but I've never tried it, and I've always wanted to. So yeah.
Prezi.com. It's free to start, and you can get 5 presentations at a time, and then you can delete one if you don't want to use it. I mean, the caveat too is they have to be public. So if you do have something that's private that you don't want listed somewhere, then maybe you don't want to use it for that.
Okay.
But yeah, there's some, and we'll talk about that too. Like, what are some features that you might want to use the free version versus paid?
Okay.
So
Thank you.
I have a question about that. When you said it's public,
Yes.
does that mean that if you have something that you turn in as an assignment and you don't want everybody to know, like, pretty much the whole world to know about it, then that's something that you should be concerned about, right?
That's right. So you need to buy the paid version so that you can hide some of your presentations.
Okay.
So the
all right.
free version has 5 presentations at any one time, and it's all unlisted. It's kind of like nobody's really probably going to stumble on it, but it's not private. That's what they want to try to do to get you to purchase the program.
Okay, all right. And I don't know who this question would be for, but using it for your assignments is okay to do. Most of the professors are okay with that.
I have used it instead of PowerPoint for all of my courseware so far, and I'm in my last class, and
Okay, great.
everybody has found it to be great.
Okay.
Nobody has said no, don't do that.
Great, thank you.
In fact, if anything, I think that my professors were more able to see what I was really thinking instead of just the slides. I feel like they got my idea a lot easier across.
Jen, if I heard you mention my name, do you want me to jump in on that?
Yeah, if you would. Did you hear the question?
I might have only caught a piece of it, but I did just hear what was asked about, will the professors accept that over the webinar, over PowerPoint slides or Google Slides. And I would suggest that if you are not sure about how your professor feels about those kinds of things, that you ask them directly. Just send them an email and say, I'd like to use Prezi. Is that okay? And if you're going into a course and you think there might be some presentations in it, ask them right off the bat, is it okay to use Prezi? And I think there could be different opinions depending on the course.
That's a very good point. And I did always ask first before I did it, just to make sure. So that is a really good point. And Dr. Lynn, what Nancy's question was about, is it possible, or maybe something to think about, since NCU allows access to PowerPoint, it's a paid version of PowerPoint, and they give it to extend it out to students. Would they think about possibly doing that with Prezi?
If only I had that much power. Maybe someday. I would, if you're interested in that, I would, maybe ask ask a dean or ask someone who might be in a, you know, ask the CTL, ask some, or the ASC, someone who might have some decision-making power over that. I really can't answer that myself. I know that we don't provide that right now.
Okay. So what are we going to do today? What are we going to do here? Well, I have 3 things that I really want to focus on, and then a final point just to draw it all together. So we are going to try to build from an outline so you can really see how Prezi works. And if you've signed up for Prezi and you've tried some things, maybe you can join in and interject from that. But it's basically my approach to how I build a Prezi and how it feels like I can get my point across. And then secondly, we're going to explore some themes and styles and how easy it is to change the look, how to import visuals and graphics, and then some closing remarks about really making it meaningful and memorable, because I think Prezi really allows you to do that because of the Canvas style presentation instead of just slides. So that's what we're really going to try to do. And if you see right now, as I'm backing out, I'm just going to be transparent about this actual Prezi right here is now we are back to my main point, and you can kind of follow along and not be lost into some details. So now we're going to look at why even use Prezi, or why is it important how your presentation ends up. So there's some research, but we're also going to do a comparison and see what you think. So some research from some studies, but also, hey, what do you think? Why is it important? In a meta-analysis of 28 studies, Wong and Adascope found that design features such as colors, shapes that are embedded into multimedia and environments with the intent to influence learners' affects and learning outcomes improved retention, transfer, comprehension, intrinsic motivation, mental effort, and enjoyment, and reduced perceived difficulties. Okay, there's a bunch of words. Or put another way, in a meta-analysis of 28 studies, Wong and Adascope 2020 found that including design features such as colors and shapes that are embedded into multimedia learning environments with the intent to influence learners' affects and learning outcomes, improved retention, transfer, comprehension, motivation, enjoyment, and reduced perceived difficulty. I just said the same thing twice, and I want you to feel how different that felt. But I really just did the same thing twice. And Prezi really does allow that, because instead of just words splashed on the screen, it is a canvas for you. So that's the research, plus an example. But we're going to do a fun comparison. So I wrote an outline, a sample outline that we could use, and I built a PowerPoint off of that outline, and then I built a Prezi off of that outline. So we're going to look at the outline just so you can have an idea. It's very generic and kind of silly. And then we're going to look at the comparison between the two and talk about that for just a bit. Okay. So here's my outline. It is, and feel free if you really think this is funny, because I'm funny, but looks aren't everything. So if you do, feel free to laugh out loud. This is a presentation about nothing at all, zilch and nada. So first we have the introduction. So you have to introduce the topic, tell a story, endear them to you, make them laugh, think, or gasp. So you can see how I have my my outline. A lot of people will start a presentation that way, or even a paper that way, so that it can help you expand. And during a presentation, if a lot of people will just work off of an outline, because then it feels much more natural, but you still have your points and you can talk a little bit off the cuff without sounding like you're just reading something. Other people just like to read, and that's fine too. This is one way to just kind of interrupt where you are. So let's say you're doing a presentation and you have your outline, and then you build more words and details, and that's exactly what you say. You can still build your Prezi just off the outline or your PowerPoint. Okay, establish why it's important. So you can see you know, the outline being, okay, this goes a little deeper. There's 2 items under this one, just a typical outline. Then I have a point that makes a point. Make your point, support the point. Show a photo of somebody important. Show some amazing graphs. Cool. Make another point. Support that particular point. Act like you know what you're talking about. Quote some people. Show some amazing graphs. You can see how silly this is, and a point to end all points. This is the most important, amazing point ever. Support this amazing point. Have some random numbers, cite some research, show some graphs again. Closing. Make sure people know you're finally wrapping it up. Review those amazing points. Draw it to one final amazing, memorable conclusion. Ask them to ask on this stuff. And of course, we always need references. So there's the outline. Now we're going to see, what does it look like in PowerPoint? And we're just going to start a slideshow here. And my slideshow went on the wrong screen, of course. Flip it.
We can see it.
Okay. I think it's that. Nope. All right, well, we're just going with it. In slideshow, I'm going to try it again.
Yeah.
Monitor, here we go. There we go. So we have our typical first slide. And then we have, here's our introduction. Topic, question, importance. So just kind of get the feel for understanding how the flow is. Here's nice graphics and pictures. Here's what I'm gonna do, introduce the story, endear them to you, make them think. Present a question. Why is this important? And it's really great to have some animation and to allow people to see the content spread out. That's Tiny Bradwick, by the way. It's an important person. Doesn't have anything to do with anything. That's why it's in this presentation. Another point. Sometimes I see that people have a lot of points and they may not even put them in subcategories, especially if you're trying to keep your PowerPoint cleaner and not really cluttered with words. So this is not a terrible PowerPoint. And in closing, and here's my references. So not terrible. But let's see what that looks like in a Prezi. So I have my canvas. This is about nothing at all, nada, zilch. Here are the things I'm going to talk about. I'm going to just introduce, and then I'm going to make a point. I'm going to make another point. And then I have an end all points, and we're going to wrap up. Last, we have references. We have an introduction. We have to talk about topic, question, and importance. So first you introduce your topic, tell a story, endear them to you, make them laugh or think or gasp. And now I pull back so you can kind of see that this is the bigger point. Oh, we're also going to talk about, present a question. Ask the audience a question and relate it to their experience. And you can dig in even further. Have you ever raised your hand before? Have you ever been asked a question? Raise your hand if you've raised your hand before. Just kidding. And it pulls it back out so that you know where you are. Introduction, importance. I'm still talking about introduction so that you know where we are here. Why is this important? For them, for friends, for pets. Now let's make a point. Point that makes a point. First, you got to make a point. And then you have to support the point with a photo of somebody important or amazing graphs. Okay, let's make another point. make another significant point, blah, 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 support this particular point. You can do it with actions, quoting somebody, or some wonderful graphs. And finally, the point to end all points. You make an amazing point and then you support this amazing point. And you don't always have to zoom in either. It can just go across. Have random numbers of things. Like this, if you travel, instead of just zoom in and out, it can travel, cite some research. And of course, show amazing graphs again. And in closing, finally, we're wrapping this up. And I'm wanting you to make sure that we know we're wrapping this up so that you can, because you really have to, do something else. Review my amazing points. And then this is a memorable conclusion and please act on this stuff. And here's my references. So let's kind of talk about how that felt and how it felt different, possibly as far as like keeping track of where you are and where the outline is.
Jen, you have a couple questions in the chat.
Okay.
As you transition there. So one is PowerPoints have a space for speaker notes. Does Prezi? Then I kind of piggybacked on that about, does it go into presenter mode like you can with PowerPoint? And then another question was, can videos be imported to Prezi?
Absolutely.
So I know you went ahead in this direction of talking about the differences, but maybe we can clarify those.
Yes, absolutely. So they do have points for speaker notes, and that's a paid part of the paid version. And yes, you can import videos, and that does not require any paid version. And you can import YouTube's even. You have to have an internet connection if you do that, or you can just upload a video and it's part of your Prezi. Those are really what I've noticed. Those tend to be really heavy sometimes. It doesn't run as well, but even just YouTube videos linked and work. Audio, yes. And audio is actually what I've been doing for like some online modules is I actually screen record audio with moving along the Prezi, and that ends up being a video of itself. And that is an online module where people can just follow along. So if you wanted to even make just an encapsulated video with narration and just record your screen as you work through it, it works great. It's a super, super simple thing as a presentation for later. But you can import audio as well. Okay. Anything else? It looks like that's it. Did I answer all your questions? Feel free to unmute yourself if you had other questions. Cherie?
Hi, good afternoon. Good evening.
Yes.
I am having a problem. I attempted to use Prezi in the past. However, I noticed that it gives me a lot of problems with iOS system. Is that something that's common, or is it just something that I experienced?
I don't even know that actually, because I don't have a Mac. I have a Mac in my drawer that I use sometimes to troubleshoot website, things, but just to see how it looks for people, but I really don't even know that. So that's a really good question. I do have the app on my iPhone and I've used it before and it has worked great, but I've only used it as a present mode. I've never tried to build in it. So I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Maybe we can do some Googling and try to figure that out.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Okay, I'm going to move on. Now that we talked about the why, let's dig a little bit into the actual Prezi and build one together. I think that could be interesting. And I do have, what I have right here is the free version. So it was kind of interesting because I was a Prezi user for so long. I've been grandfathered in and I'm afraid to ever change my account because I have unlimited Prezis without having to pay for it, which is amazing. Because when you really get Prezi now, you only have 5. So what I thought we'd do would be try something and try to look at some themes and some graphics and how easy it is to try to put something together. So does anybody have topics or anything? Or what we could do is just start with one. Let's just start with one. I'm going to say, let's create a presentation. That's probably a lot how we will use that. Okay. So let's create a presentation. So tons of ones to look at and pick. So if you have something in mind, this is kind of like the templates with PowerPoint. Is there anything that catches anybody's eye? I'm going to just scroll. Somebody say stop, and if you really, really like one. Got some messages here. Anything look interesting? Somebody stop me. I feel like we're like in a Price is Right. To stop. Which one looks good here?
You got a couple in the chat, The Office and Business Review.
Okay, The Office. I don't see those. Oh, here's The Office. Let's do this one. Meeting Office, I think. Somebody wanted that one. Let's just do it. Okay, so you can see it pre-populates a few things, and we can use this template. And here's what I mean by the free version. It'll say, who can see this presentation? Only people I share it with, or anyone on the web. And keep in mind, anyone on the web doesn't mean it's going to be promoted. It just means it's not hidden. And I've never had anybody seem to have a problem, like I've never had a problem with it, but it definitely don't use this if you have something you don't want anybody to see. But you can see if you click on that, it says, hey, are you sure you can do an EduPlus plan and only $3 a month? You can start a free trial to see what the difference is. But for now, I'm just going to do anyone on the web. Continue. It always tells me I have such a nice choice. I love that. It makes me feel so great. I'm happy that to get all that feedback. Nice choice. Okay, so it automatically gives me some words in here just to kind of give you a filler so you have some place to start. But it's really easy to change what they have. So for example, I'm going to change this word agenda, and I'm going to call it kitty cat. My cat is sitting right there. So instead of meeting, I just put my cursor in here and say meeting times. And here I'm going to say and sharp into you, and it is there. So it's very easy to edit. You just click on what you want to edit, and then if you have text, you have to be able to get that cursor right there. So sometimes you have to click a couple times to know what tool that it needs.
Jen, can we change the font as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's change
Oh,
this
I
font.
see it up there. I see it up there.
Let's change this font. It has a whole lot of fonts.
Okay.
Oh, I don't even know what that is. That's pretty cool. Oswald, Pacifico. You can change the color. That's the back. There we go. Oh, that looks pretty. I can also change this background where the circle is. I can change the background. I can make it opaque or different color, or custom color, or just pick a global custom color. I could really come up with some ugly designs, but yes, you get to control all of that. And also, if you want to just control all of it at once, you can go to the style and you can change your topic shape. For example, let's say I don't want circles. Let's say I want boxes, some strange boxes, or bubbles. So you can change everything at once as well, instead of just one thing at a time. So this is my main dashboard. If you see here, this is my main topic. I always have this home button in case you get lost. So some people have a little bit of a learning curve to go, well, where am I? Where am I on my own presentation? Because you can only have so much working space on your screen. So that will help you figure out where you are. Oh, I can add another topic. Add multiple topics, and it just puts them at the end for me. And these are each one of these are slides. So let's go into this first one. I can click on what I want and zoom in, or I can find it in my timeline here. So I'm going to go to this one. I zoom in, and now you can see all the sub topics in here. Let's say I want another subtopic. So I add a subtopic, add another subtopic, add another subtopic. And you can see how it tries to put them in good places. You can still move them around. I can click on things and edit or delete. But I can work with this. And when then I'm ready, I can say, go back to my parent, and I can come back to the main topic. I can add graphics. So I can add them from, let's say I want to add an image. I have some free images. I can even search something. Let's see if we find a kitty cat. Okay, well, it doesn't have a kitty cat for free. I can just browse for them. Let's see if I can find one. Oh, well, there's a bunny. Let's just do the bunny. And I just click on it and add it, and I can make it smaller. Put it on my home screen. Oh, I just put it somewhere else. I just put it inside here. I just put it inside it. Dang it. Sometimes when you're dragging them, see how it goes, it makes this bigger. It puts it inside of it. And I don't want to do that. I want to put it just as a graphic. So I'm just going to put it this side. I also like some of these little features, like I'm going to make this text bigger and watch how there's other items on the screen that get blue right there. Do you see? Boom, right there. That means it's the same font size. So if I'm trying to make everything look very similar, I can have those little tools. I also can see align left, align right, and I can center directly inside of that. So there's some alignment tools, because again, this is a canvas instead of a slide sort of thing. Let's see, uploads. Oh, I was going to show you, you can upload from your computer as well. So if I come up here, I can actually upload directly from my computer. And I can save things to my library if I want to use them over and over again, and I don't have to upload them. It saves actually with loads and everything. I can add shapes. I've done this before where I've tried to convert a PowerPoint, and it's okay to start with. If you have a PowerPoint, you have to do a whole lot to change it into something that makes it look Prezi-like, but it's a good shortcut. Story blocks are cool also, which is more like slides instead of bubbles. And of course, animations. Let's look at an animation. Let's look at one of these. Let's come here to next steps. So let's say that I want to put these in order. Like, okay, step one, I'm going to make this appear as a group, and I'm going to animate it to fade in, and it's not going to appear on the screen right when I first start. And I can even add the dot if I want. Let's say that I want this step to come here. I'm going to select that. I have these, and I'm going to group them, and then I'm going to say fade in. And let's say like this one, I really want to actually zoom in big time to this one. So I can actually turn it into its own topic. And now I have another topic right here. So if I've already done some work, and then I'll zoom into that one. And I could do even more. So it's kind of endless how many times you can zoom in and zoom out. But at some point, I think you're viewer gets lost. So you want to kind of, you know, look at that. I mean, it's helpful for you to kind of keep track where you are, but also remember that, you know, you can kind of play the experience for your viewer and see what does it really look like. So I like to come over and just kind of view things in the presentation. So it says, hey, present this. And the cool part about this is I can scrub anywhere along my slide, my Prezi, and say, oh, okay, well, I want to start there. And the other thing is I can zoom in and out with just the mouse. So if I want to go over to events, I just come over here and I zoom in directly to events. I don't have to actually just keep clicking the next button, next. From my dashboard, I can go anywhere I decide I want to go at any time. Oh, I want to go to Kitty Cat instead. Okay, I just go right there.
Jen, there's a question in the chat.
Okay.
Can you convert Prezi presentations to PowerPoint? And I'm going to add to that. What can PowerPoint be converted to Prezi?
Okay, yeah, actually, you can import a PowerPoint. So let's go over here. You can have a PowerPoint embedded like this. And I tried this before and it's been a while, but it doesn't really look that great. You really still have to, you know, massage the elements and stuff like that. So, but at least it's a shortcut because you don't have to do everything from scratch. So it does give you a little bit of a head start. And then the
question.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I have a quick question. When you created those groups, where it said groups, if you want to view to make sure that that's exactly how you want it, can you kind of see it first and then you don't have to go back and change it or anything?
Yes, absolutely. Let me answer this question here. So you can export a PDF, and then I know you can get a PDF to go to a PowerPoint. So indirectly, you could probably get your Prezi into a PowerPoint. Okay, so the other one, your question was, okay, can I kind of have a preview? Let's go over, I think it was events we were on. No, I don't remember which one we were on. It was all from last week. Okay, let's just do this one anyway. Let's say I have this and I'm going to insert some text here. This and that. I'm going to move it over here, make it a different color. Okay, and I want these to be grouped together, this and that. So now you see I have two selected. I push the control key or the shift key, just kind of like how you normally would, to select more than one object. And then it says group. And then I can have my animation here and I'll fade in like that. This right here is how I control the order of things. Let's say I have something else also. Let's say I want to put another text in here. And another text here. This is crazy, really not organized. And I want to put the animation on here, and I want to put an animation on this one. I can order them over here by dragging them. And so that's the order they appear. And if I push this play button, it'll show me what that looks like on the screen at that time. And so I can see, oh yeah, my group, yeah, I got my correct ones. Okay, that was a good question.
Thank you for explaining that.
Okay, so basically what I wanted to show you was how easy it is to look at an outline, add topics, change themes and styles. Oh, background, I didn't do background. I'm going to change my background. This one's a randomizer thing, just a random, I don't know what I want. Let me just kind of let them try to decide for me. Or there's some free images that you can check out. Or you can just completely not have a background. So there's a paid versions, by the way. Or I just upload my own images, by the way. And you can change the background color. Have it basically any color, or pick from, let's make something really bold right there. Make it yellow. And not have an image. Oh, well, how do I take the image off? There we go. Oops. I just did it. Dang it. Okay, well, I normally do an image, so I would have to sort through that. That's the cool thing, is there's some help stuff and training when you sign up that you can, sign up for and just watch videos or attend training. And there's like a help section where you can Google some of this stuff as well. Sharing power. Let's see. I share PowerPoint with students in Google Classroom. To share Prezi, would we copy a web link or download it to view it offline? So you can download a Prezi if you have the desktop version. And I have versions that are like, it just gives you a folder and you don't need an internet connection for it, which is awesome. But if you're going to share that with a student, they would have to download it and all that. And that's kind of annoying. So you can just actually present, and like on my dashboard right here, you can find a link to present. So here's my my Prezi right here. I can share a link right there. Or if I just click on this link right here is perfectly fine. Is it compatible to upload to platforms such as Schoolology? I don't know. I don't have Schoolology. But you're not, if you upload something, it's an executable file. So I doubt it. I really doubt that you can actually upload the whole entire thing. But what you can do, which is exactly what I've been doing for some online training modules, is screencast record me talking through. I actually do it an audio separate because I'm so like, I mess up all the time. So I record my audio and then I record my screencast video and then I put them together. But you could actually just screencast video, you talking through the presentation, and it saves it. You can save it as like an MP4, and that would be easy to upload. That would be just a great way to do it. So it just depends on, the platform that you're trying to import to. It really depends on what does it accept. So MP4 is great. Any kind of video is great. For some of the legal stuff, since this is cloud-based, will Prezi retain ownership of the material, or is still the author's? As far as I know, it's yours. I've never seen anything different, and that's kind of a legal question I've really never dug into, but I bet we could probably figure that out, especially if you go to Prezi's, just Prezi.com, not logged in. You could probably see what their disclaimers are, but there are some really very prominent companies using Prezi. So I would imagine that they wouldn't let that get by them. So this is really your content. Those are great questions. Okay, so how to make it meaningful. I want to just meaningful and memorable. I just want to touch on that a little bit, and then I'm going to show you some extended examples of what I've done with Prezi, and how to really, this is a canvas, so it's really artistic. It's very much more open. You can really think of your own ideas of how you want to apply some things. So how do you make it meaningful? How do you make it memorable? It's really like the content drives how you're presenting. And so if you're digging in more, you want to keep adding those subtopics because it's more meaningful, and you're only going to present a certain amount of things on the screen. Like this is really super busy. This would be really annoying to actually look at. But you just start with the content first and try to think of like, well, what point am I trying to get across? Because just putting bubbles and topics and making it look nice okay, well, people can follow your structure probably better than a PowerPoint, but it's still not going to necessarily be really memorable as far as like a mental construct, like handing them a shortcut mental construct to start with. Like that's why mind maps are so really popular, is because kind of is, you know, showing us what's in our head. Oh, I really kind of think of it like that way. Wow, I can see these two things are really connected. So I want to show you a couple things of what I've done with Prezi in some of my presentations that really make it interesting. This is a presentation I did for, oops, I wanted to full screen here, sorry. This is a presentation I did for Kansas Rural Water Association conference, where they had a need where there's a lot of workers who, office workers, obviously, this is why this screen, and they had a bunch of procedures that they would just get lost when they left their water office or whatever, and they, you know, all took all that knowledge with them. And so it was trying to be inspiring as to how can you leave your legacy. So I immediately went with the visual here of the desk. And this was just the template, one of the templates that was in Prezi. So I didn't take this as a photograph, but you could easily just have a photograph. And what I ended up doing was zooming in on each piece so that I could still, I mean, you can see it really didn't take long to make this. I'm just adding words to a screen, but it was, you know, physical items that correlated with what we were talking about. And so you can see it's not always zooming in and out. It's also moving across. And what ended up happening was, you know, they are able to conceptualize some things without it just being this thing on the screen, but it was very much supporting my presentation instead of just a bunch of, you know, like, oh, I have a presentation and people are just going to read my presentation as I'm reading it and we're both looking at the PowerPoint. So when you're doing things like this, you do have to have an outline. You have to know what you're going to say. But the cool part about it is the structure and the visuals are just really easy. And
Jen, there's a question.
can you insert a
In the
background
chat.
music? Yes, you can. And I
Um,
don't remember right now if it's a paid version or I guess we can look real quick. See if that's a paid version or insert audio. Yes. Oh, no, upgrade. So you have to upgrade for that, but yes, you can. Actually, I just kind of cheated and screen shared and did my own audio. Okay, is that it? Any other questions? I have another example as well. Okay, let me share another example here. And this is for an assignment I did. And I chose a background from, you know, I worked for USPA, so we had images that people put for the magazine and stuff like that. So the website. So I just picked a really cool image, something that I thought was interesting. So I just kind of went through each thing right here. Zoom back out to the main topic, zoom in. But I just wanted to show an assignment. This is not my best assignment. I probably could have come up with something better, but. What other questions do you have? And feel free to unmute too.
I'm assuming you can add videos to the Prezi as well.
Yes, you can add videos. And you can link like YouTube links. That's usually, I found that usually works a little bit better.
So if you sent this out in an email, can they just run it?
Yes, absolutely. They do not have to sign into anything. What they will get is, let me show you kind of what they get. They get a link. Like if you give them this link, this will be the link that they get, and they see this right here. And then they click on play, and they can just walk through it.
Very interesting.
They can't edit it, but this is exactly, they can go back and forth, and they can also zoom in and zoom out wherever they want to see something. Great question on the link. Can Prezi be converted to PowerPoint? Okay, so Prezi you could probably make that happen if you do this. You go here, no, sorry. You go here to export PDF, and then you can import a PDF into a PowerPoint. So I don't think all of the items are going to be editable exactly the same, converting, but you can do that. Abraham, unmute and go ahead and ask your question.
Yes, thank you. How do you use Prezi for course creation?
How do I use Prezi for course creation?
Yeah.
Okay, let me show you a course that I have. And I'm logged into my other one here, so just give me a second. This is my grandfathered in clause that has a bazillion Prezis in it. Okay, so here's one. This is my coach certification course right here. So this is a course that I do over the period of 3 days. And I use actually zooming. I actually use like Zoom areas instead of the topics and subtopics, because I can control it a lot more. And you can see, hey, I can turn it. I can start, present here. We're going to sit here for a bit. We zoom in, we do some practicing, zoom back out again. That was a little quick. Sorry. The flow is a little bit better. Okay. We can turn the screen. So I have this up for 3 days. And what's really great is I use it as a backdrop basically while we're doing other things as well. So I will, like we talk about ground prep, but in the middle of that, we stop and then we actually do things and practice and have activities, but this is in the background. It's always on the screen. And so people kind of know where we are. Then the next morning I do a recap. So my recap consists of, I start with the Prezi blank and I'm like, hey, ask questions. Okay, what do you know? What are our 3 types? What are the 3 points of our duties? Okay, well, how do we prep the ground? Okay, how do we get that? What's this, like that? Da, 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 da. And I just ask a bunch of questions, and I ask a bunch of leading questions, and they come up with the answers, but the answer is the next thing on the screen. And what ends up happening is they have a very big visual by the 3rd day, especially. They really know the material with all of the main outline points, because they visually have seen this as a recap as well. Hopefully that helps. I mean, it's really kind of up to your imagination, because it's just a canvas and it's pretty easy to use.
Yeah, I'm thinking of like module 1, 2, 3, which each module having sub lessons underneath it.
Yeah, you could do that. Like you could put like, let's say you use Google Classroom and you want that to be sort of the structure of it. And then you have like little micro learning pieces, videos that you link to. That would be a great way as well.
Okay. Thank you.
And actually a lot of times too, I will send my, my students videos or links before the course, even just to get them familiar. I mean, it doesn't tell them everything that's going to happen, but at least it gets them familiar with what the visuals are and what we're going to be looking at. Anything else?
No, thank you.
So I do see one that says audio is paid. So if you want to work around, any suggestions? Yes. What I've done is I will record. I use Audacity. This is an app, but you can use anything. You can actually even use just your phone and record something as an audio file. And then I screencast me just clicking through the Prezi along with the timing of the audio. And then I put them together, and then I have an audio video that is, I can just send out the actual end video instead of the link to the Prezi, because then I'm handing them the narration and the visuals exactly presented how I want, instead of, the Prezi works great if you're live and you're, manipulating the slides. Okay, I'm trying to catch up on all the questions. Anything else? You feel free to unmute if I missed anything.
Jen, thank you so much. This has been obviously a very well attended webinar with lots of interest, and I really hope that you will come back and present again for us. I would love to do some kind of workshop style where people could open up their computers ready to log into their own Prezi sites and have you work with them, if that's
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I've used it for a really long time, but you can still see it's like, oh yeah, how do I do that? So there are some things that you get stuck on. And so absolutely would, love to do that.
Yeah, I think it would be great. I think there's obviously so many people that would love to be able to use this tool and use it more effectively. So thank you so much. There's lots of thank yous and kudos to you in the chat. And I'm going to kind of force us to wrap up a little bit here. So any last words, Jen?
Nope, just have fun. It's like getting a box of crayons.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.